Welcome to CBJ in 30, presented by Pedialyte. I'm Bob McElligott. We've got a great show for you today, and it all starts with Blue Jackets defenseman Zach Werenski joining me. And, Zach, you are on what you'd call heater right now. You're playing pretty doggone well, coming off a 5-point performance on Thursday of last week against the Tampa Bay Lightning. First Blue Jackets defenseman to put up 5 points in a game, 2 goals and 3 assists. And this has just been building for you. I feel like watching from the outside. Have you felt like that inside, just the way your game's been going?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I feel like 5 points is obviously pretty rare. I feel like there was games, especially on the West Coast trip, where I could have had a few points and helped the team win, but pucks weren't going in, and then you come home and you get 5 points in one game. So it's funny how it works, but I've definitely had chances this year to score and get some more points, and they just haven't gone in. And yeah, it was nice to get those 5 points, but I think the most important thing is just this little win streak we're on right now. It's been awesome. Guys are stepping up in different ways, and when guys are scoring, it feels like it's easy to get on the score sheet, just moving the puck up to them. So it's been a lot of fun lately.
There's so much of this game that is confidence, right? Individual confidence, team confidence. And you guys right now look like you just feel you can score goals. You're down to Tampa 3-0. You come right back and eventually tie the game, start going back and forth with leads, win it in overtime. You take Carolina to overtime and then a shootout, but you had a score late in the third period with a goaltender pulled. But it just seems like everybody feels like, hey, we can do this. We're going to get it right now. Is that the mindset?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I think we have a lot of skill in our room. Obviously, we have a lot of high draft picks, which you don't really want. But now that everyone's kind of developed and getting a bit older, I think guys have a lot of confidence in just their ability to make plays and score goals. I think getting KJ back in the lineup's huge. He's a guy that hangs on to pucks, makes plays all over the ice. Marchie's having a great year. Monty. I mean, there's just guys all through our lineup that are having really good years right now, and I think it just gives your whole team confidence. You have Olivier scoring, a good amount of goals, and they're coming from everywhere. So it definitely gives you confidence when all 4 lines can score, all D can chip in, and your goalies are playing pretty well too. So it's a fun time right now for us, and hopefully we can just keep it rolling.
It's funny you talk about you don't want to have a lot of young guys. That means that you've struggled. You've had high draft picks, so you've struggled. However, as you pointed out, these guys, the Cole Sillingers, the Kent Johnsons, they're now going into that second contract, which means they've got 3 years underneath them. And this is where it really starts, you hope, and when you look at the results, you see it. This is where it really starts turning, right? And the guys, they understand the league, they understand what they've got to do, and can start taking off.
Yeah, 100%. I probably should have clarified that when I said you don't want the high draft picks.
But you got to have them in this league, right?
Yeah.
That's how you turn it around. That's where you are.
For sure. And obviously we struggled for a few years, and now all these high picks are turning out to be really good players for us, and that's what it takes. I mean, the National Hockey League is such a hard league, and you don't just figure it out in 1 year. It takes time, and it takes games, and it takes different experiences, and I feel like guys like Silly and KJ and Marchie, like they've been through it now, and they're flourishing, and they're having really good years, and that's kind of what it takes to turn the corner. You need your young guys and your picks to turn out well, and we're 20 games in, and it seems like they're having really good years this season. So hopefully they can just keep it going and continue to help our team win.
Let me put it to you this way, because you were here when you were a young player. You were part of that group that was winning, was going to the playoffs and had a chance. And now you've gone through this rebuild. So as you look at these guys that we're talking about, as you look at, maybe you can call it the new core of the Columbus Blue Jackets, do you see it trending in that same direction?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think it's crazy. I feel old saying this, but it's so different from like when I came in, to be honest. We had a mix of old and young. That was kind of our core. You had Foligno and Cam and Savvy. Jack was here. Hartnell was still here. Doobie. And then we had a bunch of young guys that were just coming in, and it kind of mixed well. Where I feel like now our core is kind of like the young guys in a sense. So it's definitely a little bit different, and I feel like the game's headed that way where a lot of these young guys are so skilled and talented, and can make plays, and it seems like a lot of cores on teams are younger, but you have to learn how to win. It doesn't just come overnight. It doesn't just come with skill. It takes time, and winning in this league consistently is the hardest thing to do, and I feel like we've gone through a lot the last few years, and now we're finding ways to win some games this last week, and hopefully we can just keep learning those, learning how to win and learning those lessons, and setting ourselves up for some fun hockey down the stretch.
You talk about that old group, and you mentioned Jack Johnson, and Jack Johnson is now back with this group. What does that mean to you to have Jack come back? Of course, you both are Michigan alums, so you have that in common. You played together as teammates before. What's he added since he's come back here?
Yeah, he's been great. I kept in touch with him over the years when he was gone. When I was here as a young guy, looking up to guys like him and Savvy, and obviously Jonesy was still a pretty young guy, but for me to look up to those guys as defensemen, it was huge for me. And just to get him back right now, I think his leadership, his voice in the room, he's just steady out there when he plays, and I think it's great for our group. Obviously, a young team, and I can just tell guys they're listening to everything he's saying out there, and that's important to have those guys. Obviously, he's won a cup. He's been on playoff teams recently, and so important to have those guys in the room.
Does it help you? Because Dean Evison has talked about since Boone Jenner has been out with his injury and he's not in the room, Eric Goodbranson's not in the room. So some of that responsibility, maybe a lot of it, I don't know, you can tell me, has fallen on your shoulders. They've talked about how you have been more of a leader, not just the whole watch me play and lead by example thing, but if something needs to be said, you'll step up and you'll say something. And I know that's not really your nature. You're kind of a quiet guy by nature. But, to have Jack back here, too, and have that experience and listening to things that he says, how much does that help you along in that role, the outside of hockey, the leadership kind of thing?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we're missing two huge voices in Boone and Goody, obviously. There's no denying that. I think everyone has to step up more with their leadership, and I think guys have. It's actually been nice to see guys, talk more, say some more things, feel comfortable to share what's on their mind. Olivier speaking up a lot, Sivo's saying a bunch of stuff. Myself, Curls, we're all speaking up. But then you have guys like, Jack and Reamer, guys that's their first year here, or at least for Jack, first year in a while. But they have so much experience and playoff experience where I feel like guys, whenever they speak, just you can tell they're focused on what they're saying. And I think it takes the pressure off guys that have been here and, guys like myself. So it's been huge having them in our room. Obviously, if you talk too much, it kind of runs dry a little bit. So you want to pick and choose when you speak, and you want it to mean a lot. And I feel like when different guys speak at different times, it just helps everyone out. So it's been huge having those guys in our room.
I remember talking to you before the second game of the year in Colorado. I did a pregame interview with you, and I said to you, you look like your old self. And your comeback to me was, I don't think of it as my old self. I think of it as my new self. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man, if this is your new self, this is some kind of fun to watch. What is the mindset? Just coming into the year this year, where was your mindset, and are you where you think you should be right now?
For me, the mindset part is I'm just sick of losing. I mean, it's been too long. I think a lot of guys in there are sick of losing, and for us to take the next step, I feel like everyone had to go home in the summer, look themselves in the mirror, and just be better. And I had to be better, and I obviously have individual goals along the way that I want to accomplish every season, and that's part of it. But I think just as a team, I love Columbus. I love the city. I love the organization. I've been here for 9 years, and the fans deserve more than what we've given them the last couple seasons. And teams go through that, and there's obviously rebuilds and whatnot. But for me, it was just coming in this season and doing everything I could to help the team get back on track. And hasn't been perfect, but it's definitely better than it has been for me in the past. So in terms of where I want to be, I definitely think there's more in there. I think everyone has more in there somewhere. Just got to find it. But it's been better than years past, and our team's been better than years past, and it's just been a lot of fun. So I think that's my mindset moving forward, is just trying to get better and trying to help win games and do whatever I can to help this team, because the fans deserve it, the organization deserves it, we deserve it. We've been working hard the last few years. It just hasn't gone our way. So it's been a lot of fun. So we'll see how it goes the rest of the year.
When you talk about your personal goals, there are two big tournaments coming up. Mm-hmm. There's the Four Nations tournament this year coming up in February, and then next year the Olympics. Team USA. How big of a goal do you have to be part of Team USA in one or both of those tournaments?
Yeah, no, I mean, coming into the season, that's one of my personal goals for sure, is to be on that team. I think it added motivation every day to come in here and play well. And if you're playing well, you're helping the team win. So it kind of goes hand in hand. And, Yeah, no, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't on my mind every day thinking about it. Obviously, the rosters are coming out here pretty soon, so we'll see what happens. But the first time since I've been in the league that best on best has been around. So yeah, no, I would love to be a part of that and play for Team USA. There's no greater feeling really than representing your country on a big stage. So obviously it's not a full World Cup or an Olympics this year, but even the Four Nations it'd be pretty amazing. So yeah, it's definitely one of my personal goals that I had coming into the year, and we'll see if it happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a great tournament. U.S., Canada, Sweden, and Finland going to play against each other. Okay, honestly, do you have any idea? Like, do you have any idea if you're going to get that call, or anybody giving you an insight?
No, nothing. I think they're keeping it pretty tight to the chest right now. I was talking to Dylan Larkin the other day about it because everyone's thinking about it, right? And he said he hasn't heard anything. I haven't heard anything, and I'll see what happens, I guess. I hope I get a phone call or however I find out. But if not, it is what it is. A lot of good U.S. hockey players, and I feel like I've done everything I could to put myself in a good spot for it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Bill Guerin is the GM of both of those teams. He was here the other night against Carolina. Did you know that?
I did. I didn't know it before the game. I found out after. Yeah.
So I talked to him, but I didn't specifically ask him if he's here to see you. I figured that no-brainer if he's here.
Yeah.
Maybe he's looking for something for the Wild, but I mean, it's a you can kill two birds with one stone on a trip.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see. It'd be awesome, but you never know.
All right, big week this week, Thanksgiving, and then there's a football game coming up this weekend that you have interest in, being a Michigan alum, as Michigan and Ohio State get together. I know it's going to be a little bit tempered down because we have to take off and go to Chicago on Saturday for a game. But Thanksgiving, your family's not that far away. How many people you have coming in to see you?
I think we have 10 people coming in to see me. Mom, dad, brother, his wife, their baby, aunt, uncle, a couple cousins. So, yeah, it's always a lot of fun. Whenever we have Thanksgiving at home, it seems like my family comes down for it. So it's always a great week here.
You've got a game on either side of it, so you don't have to do any work, do you?
Not really, no. That's the best part of it. I host, but it's not really even hosting, so I'm just kind of hanging out, doing my usual stuff. But I enjoy the company.
The biggest problem for you, not a problem, but the biggest responsibility might be game tickets.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out. I've kind of been trying to figure it out the last couple of weeks, but it usually always works itself out somewhere along the way.
You looking forward to having a day after Thanksgiving? Is that late afternoon game against Calgary?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think weekend games, especially after football season, should be like max 5 o'clock. That's just nice after the games when it's like 6, 7, 8 o'clock. You can grab dinner, you can hang out for a bit. I'm sure fans like it too. I don't know. I'd have to ask.
Families, I would think, especially,
yeah,
right?
Families for sure.
Right?
Even like, I don't know, if you're like a younger person wanting to go out after,
yeah,
you can watch a game and still go grab dinner and go out for a bit. So I'm a big fan of day games and afternoon games, so it should be a lot of fun on a Friday.
Yeah, there's just something about walking out of the rink when it's still light outside.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't happen very often at all, right?
Exactly. Well, I guess right now it wouldn't be light out. Anyways.
Well, no.
But,
now it's dark at 3 o'clock. It'll be dark when the game starts.
Exactly. But no, they're a lot of fun.
All right, Zach, you've got the games against Montreal, against Calgary, and then it's the Western Canada trip with a quick start off in Chicago. As you guys look at this, I know it's a game-by-game thing, but the schedule, I mean, the way you're playing right now, I think when you look at every game, it's a favorable game, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of confidence right now. I think when you look at the Montreal game, like, I don't like looking ahead in terms of, like, what our record should be or anything, but I like to look ahead and see who we're playing and who they're playing before and whatnot. And Montreal plays at home on Tuesday night, and we play them Wednesday. So definitely advantage us there, and that's a game that we feel like we should win. And then home on a Friday versus Calgary, it's going to be a good game. They're playing really well right now, but it's our last game of the homestand before we go on the long trip. So those are games we have to be ready for. And you definitely look ahead a little bit. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen, but definitely some games that we feel like we should win in our building. So it should be a lot of fun. In Montreal, you got to be a little bit pissed off. You lost that game last week at their building, right? I mean, that's a game you're 2-1 going into the third, and then it gets away from you. Yeah, for sure. No, it's one of those that if you lose, but you like to keep it closer and kind of put up, put up a better effort. I feel like for us, we kind of just almost gifted it to them in the third period there. But it was the same situation. We played the night before and went to Montreal the next night, and now they're playing the night before coming in here. So definitely a game that we should be ready for. And like I said, in our building, we should find a way to win that one.
Zach, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to you. I hope you can enjoy the football game, the little bit that you get to see. Playing, as I said earlier, you're playing great. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope that you are representing Team USA come February, not just this year, but next as well.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that.
That is Zach Werenski, Blue Jackets defenseman, joining me here on CBJ in 30, presented by Pedialyte. Coming up next, we're going to take a look behind the business of the Blue Jackets. I will be joined by Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer Kathryn Dobbs as we continue.
Pulled in by Adam Fantilli. Just passed from right between his own legs.
From your home to ours.
Back to Ken Johnson. Now Fantilli with a shot. And he scores!
Feel the boom all season long. Get your tickets now at BlueJackets.com.
Back here in CBJ in 30, presented by Pedialyte. I am with Kathryn Dobbs right now, and she is Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for the Blue Jackets. Kathryn, a lot of things have changed around here from last year to this year. Obviously, there's a new general manager, there's a new coach, there's some new player faces, all of that thing. But one of your main responsibilities is you are in charge of the Blue Jackets brand. And even though the brand stays the same, when you get new players or new people like that, I should say, does it put any kind of a spin on the brand, or does a new general manager kind of put his own little spin on the brand? How does that work?
Well, I think ultimately our job is to bring the brand to life, and we do that through storytelling. And so naturally, when things change around here and there's a new story to tell, we have new things to talk about. I think at the heart of the brand and sports in particular, you're always talking about a lot of emotion, hopefully optimism, and definitely enthusiasm. I think we take all those things and we combine them, and then we want to tell the story of where we're going. The great news for us on the marketing side is when we get to tell that story and there's excitement and something new, we get to reinforce what is changing, and ultimately, we are on a path. Our goal is to win the Stanley Cup. And so we want to tell the story of what we're doing to make that happen. And each one of those changes, new additions, trends that we see is all part of it. So it's really exciting for us as these new things come along.
And it makes it easier to tell the story when a team is exciting. I mean, the funny thing is what you deal with is the one thing that you can't control is the on-ice product. You can control the entertainment aspect of it. You can't control the way the players play. But the way it started off this season, that has gone hand in hand.
Absolutely, and I think at the end of the day, we want to build confidence that even during tough times, even during the harder times to tell the story, it's still our story. And one day we're going to have a full and complete story to tell, and we're going to capture every part of it. So that's part of the job for us. We are going to tell it, we're going to tell it all, and we're going to feel it all. So ultimately, with each step that we take and each win that we have, we're in it together, we feel it together, and we own it together.
Yeah, and that's one thing about the fans here. They kind of make that job easy for you too, right? Because when you're talking about the emotion, you don't really have to provide emotion. They provide it for you. They lend to the brand and really buy in.
For sure, and I think it's one of the unique things about marketing a sports team. We have the emotion, and we have an outlet to share our emotion. So it's definitely something that's evolving and certainly constantly part of the conversation, but that's also what makes sports so special and so personal for all of us.
What's the most fun part of your job?
Wow, that's a great question. The most fun part of my job, I think it's probably connecting the team to the fans. I was a fan first. And sometimes I have to remind myself, even now doing this job, when we start a conversation, remember, I'm a fan first. I'm gonna come from that place. But anytime we can pull everyone together, so I believe that the beauty of sports is that people want to be part of something, right? And that's our job, to make them be part of something. When I'm in the arena watching the game and the crowd is engaged, I take a deep breath every single time. That is just one of my most favorite things, because you feel it. We're all connected. We're all there. We're all feeling every play that is happening in that moment. And I think that feeds my soul and feeds the energy that we need to keep going, to tell this story, to get where we're going.
Isn't it funny, like being a fan? I agree with you because I'm a fan too. And we have a very unique perspective because if you're a fan that just sits in the stands and you don't know the inner workings of what's going on, some things are hard to understand or you have a big passion. I just wonder if you feel like I do. Sometimes that fan passion is the first thing that comes to your mind when you want to react to something or you want to say something. But the fact of the matter is, since we have a different perspective and there's a little bit knowing the inner workings and the people, and, you know, in my case, I might know a guy is banged up a little bit and he's not playing it 100%, but he's out there giving everything that he has, those kind of things. Isn't it unique to have that kind of a fan perspective?
Well, I hope that's what makes us good at our job too, right? It's the balance of all those things. It's the balance of feeling it as the fan and having the moment. I often think about when I first started here and you know, we're making the playoffs and you're going in and you know, it's the last game and we're out. And, you know, fans the next day are driving to work and they're feeling it and we're all feeling it. And I'm thinking to myself, but we have to go to work today. But I think that's what makes us good at that. And so for every decision we're making and opportunity we have, we can take each of those perspectives and understand what we're trying to accomplish. But in order for that to be, I think, genuine and real, we have to make sure we look at it through that lens.
You had the opportunity to go out to Banff, Alberta. Boy, tough place to travel. I mean,
I thought so
it's
too.
great. If you've never been to Banff, if you want to see some scenery, go to Banff. I'll tell you that. You had a chance to go out there and speak at a conference. It wasn't just sports teams. It was companies of all kinds and some really big ones, too. Tell me a little bit about what you did there and what happened and the experience that you had.
Sure. So this is my second year going out to this conference called The Gathering. And this conference was started in order to bring together the leaders of the biggest and best brands. And it's unique. I've been to a lot of conferences. I'm sure you have too. But what's unique about this is they put a great deal of time and effort into the opportunity to personally connect. So while you're out there, you're talking about these big brands and certainly their stories and how they've gotten there and the takeaways, but then also the leaders behind it. So last year, I was looking for an opportunity to go somewhere, really to a non-sport conference, because we spend a lot of time with our colleagues and other sports teams, but what can we learn from those other brands? And so I went out there, but then ended up having the opportunity to be on a panel with the president of the Lakers and a colleague from the Vegas Golden Knights, who had just won the Stanley Cup, moderated by the former CMO of the Dallas Cowboys. So this was, for me, the big leagues, but also just an incredible opportunity because I got to tell our story too. So I went back out this year, did another panel with women in sports, and it's really special, and it is a unique opportunity for us to share our story. And I will tell you what I've gotten from it and the support that our team has gotten from it has been pretty incredible. So definitely the best of the best. Honored out there this year for their Hall of Fame was McDonald's, Coca-Cola, MTV. So definitely a place to go and learn a lot about both yourself as a leader and how do we do a better job building our own brand here in Columbus.
How many people, when you're at an event like that and you've got all those companies you talked about, how many people still want to talk sports because it's such a passion?
So that was probably what I wasn't prepared for, because we go to these sporting conferences and then we live it and work it and you don't think much about it, so there's not that. Definitely going out to Western Canada too, there was a lot of Canadians there, very well educated in the sport that get very excited to have conversations. So that's a unique opportunity though, because they aren't in the business, but they're working for these big brands. And I'll tell you, they ask some very challenging questions, and it's really caused me to come back. That's why I went back this year. Okay, this was a challenge, right? What are the unique opportunities of marketing a sports team versus some of these other brands? So I think that's one of the fun parts of going to a non-sport conference is you get in some different conversations with people.
Is there any one thing that you talked about with somebody or was in a presentation that kind of got your attention and you grabbed onto that and said, yeah, I want to see if we can make that work?
Well, there was a couple presentations, actually. One, Levi's was there, and they have a full-time historian on staff, and I thought that was fascinating. Now, big brand, over 150 years old, makes sense, but they archive their jeans, and they tell stories, and that was really fascinating. We're coming up on our 25th anniversary next season. We're thinking about stories and storytelling, so that was really that was really fun to kind of think about what opportunities we have. And while we aren't 150 years old, we have been around 25 years, and our fans and fan base have some great stories to tell. So I was excited about that. The other one that I wasn't expecting was actually Pinterest. Pinterest did a presentation on Gen Z and everything Gen Z is doing, and I have one of those at home. So I immediately went home and said, wow, how could our brand live in your world at your age on a platform like that? Again, an interesting opportunity for us as we look at the 25th anniversary. So I had a lot of notes in my notebook.
It is great to have that resource at home.
Oh my goodness! Trust me, she dresses me. She's my coach.
I think about that too because I've got a 23-year-old, 21-year-old. It's helping me stay somewhat connected. That's going to go away,
Yes.
right? When the next wave comes through, and now they're too old to help me out. It's going to be a totally different thing. But it's great to have that resource.
It certainly is.
Yeah. So, well, I'm glad you had a good time there. I'm glad you learned a lot, and you've done a terrific job in what you've done here and with this brand. It has been so fun, and I know that people have a great time coming here. So that's kudos to you and your staff and all the people in the business office to make that happen.
Thank you. It's an absolute honor.
That is Kathryn Dobbs. She is a Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer of the Blue Jackets. Coming up next, I'll tell you what's on tap for the Blue Jackets in the week to come, and we'll talk about what's going on in the NHL, too, here on CBJ in 30, presented by Pedialyte.
Here are 5 great reasons to get a Blue Jacket season ticket plan this season. 1. Choose the games you just gotta see. 2. Plan start at just 6 games. 3. Incredible savings. 4. A ticket trade program for games you can't make. And 5. Invitations to exclusive events all year long. Come on, need more reasons? Visit BlueJackets.com/tickets today.
CBJ in 30 presented by Pedialyte. The Blue Jackets have 2 big games remaining on this 4-game homestand. The first one is against the Montreal Canadiens. That's Wednesday night at 7:30. Zach Werenski talked about this earlier in the show, that the Montreal Canadiens play on Tuesday night at home against the Utah Hockey Club. So they have to make the travels to Columbus, just like the Blue Jackets had to go the opposite direction last week and then lost in Montreal. But that was a game that the Blue Jackets were right in. And then all of a sudden, with a couple of mistakes in the third period, they were right out of it. So they will be very much looking forward to a second crack at the Montreal Canadiens. And then on Friday, it's a 3 o'clock game against the Calgary Flames. Now, Calgary has been one of the surprises of the National Hockey League. They are battling in their division. They start the week in second place, only 1 point behind the Vegas Golden Knights. And I don't think anybody really saw that coming from the Calgary Flames. So they've gotten off to a good start. They're playing very well. The Blue Jackets will have their hands full with them. Again, 7:30 on Wednesday night. Montreal is here. 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. Calgary will be here. It's on either side of your Thanksgiving holiday. You can get your fill of turkey and your fill of hockey. It's not a problem. We've got it all for you this week at Nationwide Arena. And then the Blue Jackets are off to Chicago, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and Winnipeg. Doesn't that sound fun? I mean, who wouldn't want to take that trip in early December, right? But that's where we're going to be headed here in the next week or so. So that's going to do it for today's CBJ in 30 presented by Pedialyte. I would like to thank Kathryn Dobbs and Zach Werenski for joining me. I'm Bob McElligott. Until next time, so long.